What's up, everybody? This is your boy Chainsaw. Listen, I was asked over the weekend how I felt about the whole GameStop gate, Robinhood gate thing, how I felt about the markets, what's been going on here lately, and I gotta say, it's given me a splitting headache. Not my first thought on what was going on, but, you know, I kind of observed everything that happened on Thursday. You know, I sort of watched this earlier on in the week. I had my focus on other things, other positions, and of course we had that big clearance sale this weekend, so, you know, I was definitely, worked up with all that, plus, you know, getting the new YouTube channel started up, and, man, I feel like I'm a little bit behind, but it didn't take me long to catch up, so, here's what we got. Now, I put this together. I was actually going to do 2 videos on this, but I really felt that wouldn't do good justice to the situation that's going on. This really kind of needs to be seen from all angles, right? Now, by now, everybody's roughly familiar with what's going on with the GameStop gate, Robinhood gate, you know, the scandal that took place on January 28th, right? Now, for those of you who aren't, here's a brief overview. For the past week, we got a group of Redditors who've been participating in what I like to refer to as a 200-year-old consumer organizational tactic called market socialism. It's a real thing. You can Google it, you know, check the wiki page. You know, basically they're looking to plan and execute long trades on stocks that are otherwise going to phase out. They're going face first, you know, in the dumpster fire. This is just the natural cause of things. They weren't able to adapt, keep up, whatever, you know, good things, bad things. You know, going face first in the dumpster fire life. Meanwhile, you've got billionaire hedge funds that have been making bank off of shorting these companies, right? Now, these guys weren't too happy about this, because they're losing billions of dollars, and, you know, with good reason or not. So, you know, their short plays are considered a short thing. That is until retail investors, i.e. everybody else, decided they could beat them at their own game. Now, where this gets really tricky is, you know, essentially this is the equivalent to what, you know, would-be paupers on Wall Street, you know, the people who typically get screwed in pre- and after market hours, and who typically just follow the market trends. I mean, they teach you in all the you know, stock courses, you know, follow the market trends. You know, trending up, you go in. The scalpers, it's a big thing. You know, I used to do Forex, and that's what they would always talk about, is when the you know, market makers come in and they just annihilate everything. So you want to kind of watch and see where it's at in a safe position. Take your hours at a time when you think only they're not really messing too much with the Euro USD, because they're doing their own thing. That's another story. So basically, you've got, you know, these, you know, hedge funds who have been making a crap ton of money off of shorting these stocks, and then the good folks, you know, with this market socialism come in. What's it? Wall Street bets, right? So these guys come in, and they're going long in these positions. Now, these hedge funds are hoping to, you know, make money, well, which they lose. That's typically not the case. In fact, there are managers out there like Citron who are famous for shorting stocks and then publishing smear pieces about these companies, and, you know, that they've bet against to fuel the massive sell-offs and shorts, and then they'll cash out at the end, take their profits, and run home, you know, and right before the stock hits rock bottom, because, you know, people find out that this is a gimmick, and then, you know, you got a chance to invest at a better deal, right? We're all looking for that better deal. But these guys have been manipulating the markets for decades like this. You know, honestly, this is something similar has been happening for significantly longer, but we'll get to that in just a second. The fun thing is, it's all perfectly legal, right? Now, when retail investors do this, you know, the nobodies of the financial world, you know, start doing it, and they're going against the grain, these people lose their minds. They're calling foul, you know, because they're market manipulation. And the other guys, their market manipulation tactic all of a sudden doesn't work. And it's for the first time in the history of the market. We have never seen this happen before, right? Now this is what we were looking at until companies like Apex Clearing and, you know, retail-friendly broker Robinhood had taken action to, you know, stop the little guy from going long, buying these stocks up, you know, and raising that price. And this is, you know, so much for the free market, I guess. They'd actually stopped them from being able to take positions, anything but sells, which is also unheard of. So no more long positions can be made. The stock's plummeted, obviously, because nobody's buying, so everybody's either selling or holding, and everything is just still dipping down. These stocks are still plummeting. Retail investors, were in a panic. People were freaking out. Like, literally, people were freaking out. Some of them sold, some of them lost money because they got left holding the bag, and that, well, some are of the opinion that that was the plan, right? Prices, stock prices plummeted in these particular securities. Investors are in panic. Retail investors are in panic. Now, fortunately, some brokerages were able to see the light. They did issue apologies. Some. They blame the clearinghouses, like Apex, for regulating their processing abilities, regarding long positions in these companies. And that's a real thing. Like, we're still using the same technology to process funds that, we had used, in the 1970s. It's insane. Correct me if I'm wrong. Anybody who's a little more versed in finance than me, I believe it used to be a 5 to 10 day business day waiting period to clear funds, to let the funds settle. Now, it was like two business days, and this has been going on for about 50 years now, so that's a thing. Two of these brokerages I actually promote on this channel, Webull and M1 Finance, which you can get you 4 free stocks of Webull. Clicking the links below. Still like these guys. Still working with them. 4 free stocks through Webull. Click the referral link below. You get a free $30 through M1 Finance. Clicking the other link below. Get you started up for whenever this whole thing chills out, man. Now, Robinhood, they took a little bit of a different approach. I'll let you investigate that on your own. It's unique, for sure. Now, the actions of these brokerages and these clearinghouses on Thursday, even grabbed the attention of the president and obviously Congress. It seems that a free and fair market is not a bipartisan issue, or at least so Democrats and Republicans would have us believe. More on that in a moment. Senator Elizabeth Warren said on Thursday, we need an SEC that has clear rules about market manipulation and then has the backbone to get in and enforce these rules. And she also said to have a healthy stock market that you've got to have a cop on the beat. And, also that for years the same hedge funds and private equity firms and wealthy investors, dismayed by the GameStop trades, have treated the stock market like their own personal casino, while everyone else pays the price. Senator Elizabeth Warren, Democrat, she said the SEC essentially needs to stand in and do their job. Okay. Representative Patrick Henry of North Carolina, is quoted as saying to ensure that we're not cutting people off from additional access to markets and therefore leaving them to activities like we've seen, with GameStop and a few other tradable securities. This is important stuff. I mean, he said, what I'm seeing here is this larger case, which is average, everyday investors cut off from their access that insiders like C-suite members of companies and hedge funds and private equity naturally get. He added that the credit investor standard has bifurcated our markets into a highly prosperous lie. Cool. All right. And even the SEC, they put out a statement. A pretty big one. Get to that in a minute. But this has been mentioned in several news journals that they'd said that in addition, we will act to protect retail investors when the facts demonstrate abusive or manipulative trading activity that's prohibited by the federal securities laws. Market participants should be careful to avoid such activity. Likewise, issuers must ensure compliance with federal securities laws for any contemplated offers or sales of their own securities. Okay. Well, it's great news, right? Seems like the government's looking out for the little guy. Great. Well, let's see what the opposition says. You've got attorney Susan Kirshner. She's a law partner with Hansel LLP. She told Bloomberg, actually Wednesday, so the day before all this excitement happened, Just this last Wednesday, she says, quote, "I think that regulators do need to be thinking about it, but it may be where the regulators need to be thinking really hard beyond its enforcement mandate." She's making connections between last week and the hopium that we'd experienced during the dot-com crash, right? She says, if that investor is more informed about how to actually evaluate the companies in which they want to invest, how to consider company fundamentals, how to think about long-term growth, how to think about all the important things other than just price fluctuation, that could be a real help to the investor and could help mitigate the potential risks being created by all this chatter and all these platforms. Well, on these platforms. And, also she said that it may be that what the regulators need to be thinking about is investor education and financial literacy. Investor education, financial literacy. We'll come back to that in a second. Columbia law professor John C. Coffey Jr. He's written law school case books, several on securities laws and corporate law. He's quoted as saying on Thursday, it is possible, indeed necessary, to be critical of both sides, the shorts and the longs. The shorts had taken a more than 100% position in the stock. Now that's the hedge fund guys. That means that they had sold more shares than existed. This implies that someone was cheating, perhaps by executing naked short sales where you have not borrowed the stock in advance. This is certain to push the stock down, and is arguably evidence of manipulation, right? Evidence of manipulation, okay. Evidence of collusion is still very thin. Perhaps some will arise on closer investigation. These events were not a pump and dump scheme. If you want to slow the market's exuberance, the best options are to encourage brokers to impose higher margin requirements for high-risk stocks, restrict the sale of options on higher-risk stocks, and brief trading halts. Possibly, the one new development that you would want to chill is Reddit's Wall Street Bets website, but the First Amendment is a real barrier here if the speakers are only providing statements of opinions. My prediction is the irrational investors in GameStop are about to lose a lot of money over the next week or two. With the pain that with that pain will come some wisdom. Okay, so what does the SEC say about all this, right? Well, they put out the statement, like I said, it's, Friday, that the SEC, Securities Exchange Commission, they said that in addition, we will act to protect retail investors when the facts demonstrate abusive or manipulative trading activity that is prohibited by the federal securities laws. Market participants should be careful to avoid such activity. Likewise, issuers may ensure compliance with the federal securities laws for any contemplated offers or sales of their own securities. And this has been repeated many times in various news journals. But the part that grabbed my attention is the second paragraph of the full statement, which you can find on the official website, sec.gov. Yep. It reads, as always, the Commission will work to protect investors, to maintain fair, orderly, and efficient markets, and to facilitate capital formation. The Commission is working closely with our regulatory partners, both across the government and at FINRA, and other self-regulatory organizations, including the stock exchanges, to ensure that regulated entities uphold their obligations to protect investors and to identify and pursue potential wrongdoing. The Commission will closely review actions taken by regulated entities that may disadvantage investors or otherwise unduly inhibit their ability to trade certain securities. Sounds pretty good, right? Fair. Efficient. Protect investors. Like, protect investors from not being able to participate in a free market where you are in total control of your money in a fair and level playing field, right? Well, now for my 2 cents. And for that, let me switch topics to everybody's favorite, Regulation D, crowdfunding. Now, anybody who's worked in real estate, commercial real estate, I'm sure you're vaguely or well familiar with Reg D crowdfunding. The SEC, in its inception, this was created to protect investors from Wall Street, right? This Securities Act 1933. To protect people from this Wall Street equivalent to snake oil salesmen, right? And this is why we have regulations on companies going public, earnings reports, other financial data that's made public, every other piece of data that they are charged with analyzing for the purpose of keeping the average investor from being robbed by anything but gunpoint, right? Now, this was great in a time when there were no laws or regulations, there were no real laws on regulations, bogus companies were able to just sell anything, claim anything, essentially, and, during periods of market boom, facilities like the SEC and the regulations, were great, during the 1950s. People were able to invest in companies with proven track records and, bright futures and fantastic accounting practices, right? This is great. Well, then the 2008 financial crisis happened. You might remember that. So, in 2012, President Obama signed the Jobs Act. This is great news. Title III, allowed for small businesses and individuals, between Title II and Title III, allowed individuals and small businesses to crowdfund. It opened up the doors to investors in private companies. So now you have the similar capabilities, or at least in theory, you're able to sell unsecured securities or unregulated securities to investors to build your startup. If you're starting a daycare or a bookstore or well, they didn't have crickets back then, but if you wanted to, that'd be good now, right? You get a cricket, you start making things, you're doing stuff, whatever. Anything, right? You're in real estate. Man, that would be so awesome to be able to crowdfund and sell shares in real estate, right? And you could just do it like the big guys, except you're in an asset that actually holds its own. This makes perfect sense, right? Well, and that was the whole idea. Title III and Title II, they allowed individuals to crowdfund their startups without having to go public. That's very, very expensive, and as we just discussed, comes with an insane amount of regulations for somebody who's not able to afford a lawyer after filing all that nonsense. They're able to crowdfund their startups without going public. The idea is to promote a truly free market. And this was supposed to help our economy recover. It's fantastic, it's great in theory, for sure. I mean, sounds wonderful. Sounds good. But there were some caveats. The Jobs Act created some amendments to the Securities Act 1933. Now a private company could essentially market themselves, freely to investors, without the fear of penalty and securities fraud, in order to raise capital to grow and they could market in any way they saw fit. Social media was still and just then becoming a thing, starting to just take off. It seemed perfect, right? Now you too can start a business with your friends and your family and pool your resources together and lift yourself up by your bootstraps and finally, live life to your fullest potential, right? Seize the day, man. So long as you don't raise more than $1 million in a 12-month period. Okay, cool. Start up business. And your friends and family who are investing with you, as long as they don't make over $200,000 in the last 2 years or in income, or they have a net worth of $1 million. Otherwise, they're considered a non-accredited investor. See, accredited investor, you can, invest whatever you want. You're accredited, it's good. You can throw your money into the wind if you want to, throw it right in the dumpster fire. And that's what we got all these, that's what we had this conversation earlier about. But, non-accredited investors, we'll get to that in a second. They are only able to invest either 10% of their annual income or 10% of their net worth, or simply $2,200. So $2,200 for not accredited investors, and you can only do business with, say, 35 of them. 35. So if you're working class, you don't have access to an accredited investor, which a lot of working class folks don't. Maybe one, maybe three. It's a thing. Your maximum annual budget, can be up to $77,000. And whatever you can scrounge up. Also Regulation D, crowdfunding with non-accredited investors strips away your right to advertise anywhere. Anywhere. Anywhere, you got it. No Facebook ads, no taking out ads in the paper, nothing. You better make sure that you only have friends and family as your investors also, because there are certain rules that the SEC has put in place regarding your personal relationship with your 35 non-accredited investors. And one of them is that it better be personal. In short, that relationship, without it, you can get hit with fines, you can get hit with jail time. This is real jail, like prison. It's securities fraud if you do anything else. That's the thing. Securities fraud is the thing that the Wolf of Wall Street went to prison for. They're not messing around, so in closing, it's no wonder that people are freaking out over GameStop. Both in that they've finally found a way to stick it to the man, and show up these cheaters, who've been gaming the system for centuries, and that the regulatory bodies that were put in place for the sole purpose of protecting investors nearly a century ago, have done very little to nothing to offer and provide for a free and fair open market. A marketplace for opportunity. And, Robinhood, for instance, their model is on democratizing capital, with the stocks. That's the whole point. They are set up for retail investors specifically. This is neither free nor fair. And it prevents people from participating in a capitalist society, which we were all told is one of, or the main thing that makes America great in the first place. They won't even let you choose what you can do with your money because you don't have enough, therefore you're not smart enough to handle it. There's a phrase for accredited investors. They call them sophisticated investors. If you're non-accredited, it otherwise means you're not sophisticated. This is why they have those regulations in place. You are essentially not sophisticated enough to spend your money how you want and invest the way that you want to. You're just not smart enough to handle it. That's someone else's job. So with that, we're all looking forward to Monday. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Like I said, get your 4 free stocks with Webull. Click the link down below. Might as well get it while the getting's good, right? Let's see what happens. Get your $30 with the referral link to M1 Finance. Link down below, and subscribe if you like what you heard here today. Subscribe to my channel. Click the like button, hit that bell icon, notifications every time I release a video, and check out the website, chainsawccc.com, and see you next time, man. Aye, aye, aye.